Hello and welcome to Wikipedia Weekly Network, and in these episodes where me and Albin Larsson are editing Wikidata. But not today.
Not today.
What are we doing today, Albin?
We are editing structured data on Commons, finally.
Yes. So it's sort of related to Wikidata. We're going to see and use a lot of Wikidata items today, but we're not specifically going to be on Wikidata. I don't think I'm going to be. Are you going to do anything there?
Not at all.
No. I almost saw the need that for one of my examples, like, oh, we're missing a Wikidata item. Should I create it? But I'm going to show you how you can do when there is none, because I think that's interesting to know as well, because sometimes things are just not notable, and we'll have ways around it as well. So structured data on Commons. I'm going to share my screen here because there's a very nice page, of course, on Commons. Commons::structured data, and if you want the quick link for that, it's UR to find your way to it. And it's sort of a way of putting Wikidata on Commons. Not really, but sort of. I guess that's a short pitch for it. So what it is actually a Wikibase client that has access to Wikidata items. So you can use it for mark or add structured data onto the files. And I guess the most tricky thing is that we're adding structured data for the files, not for the things in the files. So for example, if we have an image on the Eiffel Tower, we don't add the height to the photo because the photo is not a number of meters high. So that's the difference. You add that on Wikidata still. What you add, we depict the Eiffel Tower. So yeah, let's show you some real examples on how we actually do this. Oh, and I want to, if you want to see or convince someone, there's a really nice movie they made here that explains both a little bit about Wikidata and Commons, but also the structured data. And the quick link for that one is YRG, capital letters. But it's also available on the page with UR. So yeah, but I really like that movie. So that was really good. So just go to just a regular image here on Commons. I took this one in 2008, way before structured data on Commons, so it doesn't have any. And you cannot really see the title here, but from the description you can read it's the Central Hospital in Karlstad, Sweden. And maybe this is a little bit too small. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then we see here, this is the new thing, the tab, structured data. And what it actually is a tab, so everything else disappears. Well, you have the image in the top, but all of the other things. And it's very helpful. It suggests to you that you should add something in this. And it's sort of pre-selected with the depicts property, but you can add other things as well. But it's sort of like this is the main purpose, and it sort of is. So let's do it. So this is the Central Hospital in Karlstad. So I'm just going to start typing and see if there's a Wikidata item for that. Central Hospital of Wuhan. There's a lot of central hospitals, perhaps. Off. Car. Two. In. I was pretty sure that this one. So I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to go to the category and see if there's. Oh. I was pretty sure this one was. I think I even looked it up before. Let's look it up again. Now I'm going to do the search here in Swedish to see if. So there I get it. So maybe it doesn't have a property. Or oh, yes, no label in English.
Right.
All right. So that's why. Right, you got to see some Wikidata. That's good. So let's head back. So that's why labels are important. And let's see. Switch over to the structured data, paste this one in. Yep. So that's, and here we have something that is, this mark as prominent is actually the ranking. And you should mark it as prominent if it's sort of the main feature of the image. And in this image, it's all about the central hospital. So I will mark it as prominent. And then I'll publish the changes. And that's my edit. My first edit for no, at least not my first edit today. I've been doing lots of things today already. But that's more or less it. Now I added some things, and this can be used in various ways. But then, of course, other things you can add to this, such as the date of this. You can also add the copyright status and license file. And of course, the coordinates, which will be very useful for some queries. I'm not going to add that right now, because I also know that there are some bots going around. I've seen that like on my notifications and watch list on my files I already have, that when there are already good structured data, or not structured, when there is good metadata in the info box, they can actually detect that and move it. So I'm going to save that for now and do something a little bit more interesting. So this was an easy case, like just one depicts. So here's another one. This is the square of the town I grew up in. And here I know for sure there is no Wikidata item for the square itself. So I cannot really tag it depicts the Gimo Centrum square. But I can say that it depicts a square. So let's see if we can do that. So it depicts a square. Open public space, yes. And it's very prominent. It's just in the middle of the file. And I'll publish that. And then I'm going to say we have a quite prominent streetlight here. So I'm going to say it also depicts a streetlight. I'm not going to make it prominent, but because it's not really the main feature, but the streetlight, yes. Just to show you how, I wonder if I say here also, there's some nice red flowers here. So if I go add flowers, flower, and I'm going to add a qualifier saying it has the color red. Let's see if I can do that. Red color.
Yeah.
And publish those two at the same time. Yay! I don't know how that's. I'm gonna. This is new.
Yeah, that looked very interesting as well.
Is this one edit or two edits? So it's two separate edits still. So it made first the edit for the streetlight and then for the flower. All right. Let's take a look at the diff here, just to learn something. Yep. And here you also can see here it's called rank instead of prominent. So, yep. And these are some easy things we're gonna do. Here's another that is a little bit more interesting, I think. So this is the Swedish Film Institute. It has an item, I know that. It's also taken from the park Gärdet, which also has an item. So let's see if we can add something of that. So it depicts Oh, I don't know. Should I go for Swedish or English? Right. Oh, this is the foundation.
Yeah, that's not the building.
I wonder if
The
the building
should
has
have
an
an
item.
item too, I believe.
Do you think it has?
I think so. I think the building is protected somehow, if I remember correctly.
Yes, because it's called the Filmhuset, the building.
Right.
All right. So I'm gonna, and it's Filmhuset in English as well. So let's just copy it. Head back over here. Yes, that's the building. That's the one we want. We can say this is prominent. Yes, I think so.
Indeed.
That was what I had in mind when I took the image, even though there's some park in front of it. So I'll publish that. And then the interesting part here, I'm going to add another kind of statement. And this statement is going to be place from, nope. Location. I don't remember. It's not the coordinate location. Location of viewpoint.
Yeah, I believe it's something viewpoint.
No.
What happens if you only search for viewpoint? Does it autocomplete in the middle of?
Coordinates of the point of view, location of the point of view.
Right.
Location of the point of view, yes. And this one is Gärdet. Not the urban district. I'm gonna. All right, so we're much more on Wikidata than I thought. Are we saying this is the park itself doesn't have an item? Or is that actually, is there another one for? No, this one says
I would guess that's it.
yeah, that's it. So this is for the entire. So you can see in here in English, but this is the part of the town rather than just this park.
Park.
I wonder or let's see, what is this? No, that's something else. Guess I'm not going to add that because I don't think that helps us a lot. Or maybe it does. Let's add it.
Yeah, it can be approved later on. It's a wiki again.
Yeah. And here I'm actually going to add the coordinates because I think that's going to be useful for one of the things I'm going to show with the query later. So go back to the structured data. This is, or maybe it doesn't matter. No, it won't matter. No. So I'll just leave it for that. So now I've made some manual editing. And that's fine. But of course, people are already writing tools for this. And I'm going to show you a tool called ACDC. And this is a gadget you need to turn on in your preferences on Commons. So you'll go to the preferences, the tab for gadgets. And it might load if you're lucky. Or if I actually click. It's not a gadget.
Is it a user script maybe still?
No. It's not. So add to Commons descriptive claims, ACDC. So this is the one you need to turn on to use this tool. And I'm going to head back to this And what it can do is some interesting things. So now I'm in a category of a person. I can click this ACDC. It turns up in your toolbox on the left-hand side, and it brings up a new interface. And the first things it asks you for is, what files do you want to work on with this tool? And you can write your file names in here, which is perfectly fine. Or you can load a category or even a page pile. So if you have, so you don't actually need to edit things on the page you're looking at. You can just do some work from PetScan or wherever you create your page piles and use it. But now I'm going to use load category. And it's very helpful because it recognizes I'm in a category right now. So I'll just press OK. And it loads everything in. And I'm going to say that all of these files depicts Göran Greider. He's a Swedish writer. And now here's the trick. As we saw before here, he wasn't prominent on all the ones. So I'm not going to add Mark as prominent right now, because I think it was in these two. He's not prominent. He's just sitting on the side, but he's depicted in all of them. And if you want to remove any, you can just click one to remove them. Or if you're happy with, well, this depicts Göran Greider, you just press publish changes and boom, it goes off and making edits on your behalf. And it's quite quick. So this is pretty fun. And we can take a look at one of these now. And we'll see that on the structured data page, there's a depicts Göran Greider. And on the history, we can see it was actually me making this edit with the tag ACDC. So that's how you can also find them. And in my contributions, you can see I just made like 10, 12 edits in a minute. That's quite effective.
Yeah.
And here I'm going to show you one of the downsides with this tool, because here I'm in another category of a sort of university, sports university in Stockholm. And I noticed here that this file, and I guess this file doesn't really depict the university, whereas all the other ones does. And when I go here to ACDC, I'll use the preload again. It adds all of them. And now I will have to remember, oh, which ones were these? And it was this one. It was the homage to Ling, and it was the group image. So now I could actually remember these three, but sometimes you have 10 or a lot more, and then it becomes hard. And that is where the tool that Alvin is going to show is going to be a little bit better. And now let's see if I get a hit on these. Yes, it actually found it. Swedish School of Sport and Health Sciences. And here I'm actually going to say they're prominent in all of these and publish. And we're editing structured data in bulk here. So in a way, for some things, this is already like easier to do a lot of edits than on Wikidata.
Yeah. Yeah, there aren't that many good bulk tools, and especially as there are already categories and commons, there are all this existing data that just needs to be converted.
Yes. And now I'm going to show you, I think it's going to be my last sort of edit here, but it's going to be hopefully 280. So here I am in the category audio files in Spanish. And
Right.
so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to load ACDC. I'm going to say load the category, bring this up. Now my computer is going to work a little bit because it's actually going to load all of these as things in the interface. So it's going to be a long list. I tried this with a category with 4,000 files. I didn't manage to load it. And you see still it works here a little bit. Ticks down. Come on. And you will notice it's not done because if you scroll down, it still works there. So let's see. Now we're done. Great. So
Lovely.
I don't know what these depicts, so I won't add any depicts, but I do know that they're all in Spanish. So I'm going to add language of work. And this is a little bit unhelpful that it jumps up, especially with long lists. And Spanish. Stop it. This one. And here I'm not really sure, but I would think, is this prominent? It's not really depicts. No.
I wouldn't believe it mattered.
No. So
I mean, it's rarely that we add ranks to Wikidata.
Yes, that's true.
And I imagine the practice will be the same on commons, also then for depict.
Yeah, and I think we should mention that because this is still a bit new on commons. So be a little bit humble if someone says, hey, should we do like this, and take the discussion, because I think now is the time to try things out and have discussions. But I think this is also quite obvious that these are all in Spanish. So I'll be bold and press publish here. And now it's going to go do 280 edits. And it's going to be a little bit boring for us to sit and watch that. But so I'm going to have this tab open and switch to something else. So the big question is now, what can you do with this? And of course, just this other week or week and a half now, perhaps?
Yeah, week and a half.
The query service. This is a beta, so I'll show you. There's where you can find it if you want to go play yourself, and I encourage you to do because it's fun. So this is more or less the same as the query service in Wikidata, but it sort of the main wiki base it's targeted for is the structured data on commons. So, and already helpful, the examples, the same thing that we is available on the query service for Wikidata is also here, but there's different examples because we query different things. And instead of cats, the simple one is depictions of Douglas Adams, because why not? And you see I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here, perhaps. Boom. So this is a very simple one. Select file, and this yes, there it comes. Depicts and Q42 for Douglas Adams. So that's a very simple query, and you run it. You get 11 results, and then you get what? So this is sort of the Q number, but the M number. And it will take you to the page of this.
Yeah.
And you can see in structured data that it depicts Douglas Adams. So that's pretty cool. But now...
Yeah, a small note for people who have been on commons for a long time. The M number is actually the same as the page ID. So if you know the page ID of something, it's the same.
So that's the trick. And then you also can look it up in various ways. I guess if I would guess the page information.
I think there is a concept URI even.
There might be.
The concept URI there
would
actually be this.
It is. Yes. Well, it's hard to see when I hide it there, but if I hover over the concept URI, you can see there's an M. So that's where you can get it. But it's also, as you said, here's the page ID. It's the same.
Yeah.
Which
Which
also
is
might
useful,
make...
for example, for page piles and things like that.
Exactly. And other tools.
Indeed.
Yeah. There are some... where did my examples tab go? Did I zoom in too much?
Yeah, it's the mobile view.
So there are some things that are a little bit tricky, because if I thought here, let's show this as image grid, because it's 5 pages. It doesn't really work yet. I'm pretty sure someone is working on that, but for now, there's a workaround. And thankfully, of course, that workaround is in our second example.
No, in the third.
In the third. What was that? Yes. So it sort of has to go get the URL and transform it in some ways. And
it has the URL encode the file name.
Yeah. And my suggestion is that this is a great thing with the cat query, that you open and you adjust this to your needs. And if I run this now, instead, I get 11 images. Are they all the same? No, there isn't. Right. They're mostly the same. All right.
That's interesting.
There are actually more or less 3 files with different crops.
What happens if you do select distinct?
No, they are different. They're different crops.
Okay.
Yes, so they are different files, but it's a little bit...
Yeah, the color is slightly different.
Yeah. So here you can go nuts, and of course, since there's some media thing here, so it can know a little bit like there's some free extra metadata. So I like this example because through this schema, you have lots of things available to you. Yeah, so here you can just run, give me everything that is 100 by 100, and you get all the images that are 100 by 100. And I'm sort of working on something like, I don't have that query for today, but I'm working on something like get me HD things like 1920 by 1080, and I only want them for in CC0 because that's what it's my use case. So yeah.
Yeah, great for things like desktop backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah, or video editing or things.
Right.
But the query I'm going to show you, which I sort of have been thinking about, I think more or less since 2008 when I was starting taking photos, is I want to see things that where they are taken and from on what. So I started immediately building a query for that. And this looks a little bit complex, but what it's more or less is doing, it's grabbing a media object that depicts something with a place, and then it should be something with a coordinate. And I already pre-ran this. Did I not? No, I reloaded this. All right. I had to put a limit of 4 here because it times out very easily still in this beta service. I'm pretty sure someone is working on that too. So we'll see when it gets better. Oh, and now I actually scroll down. This wasn't my intention. So what we can see here is images in Stockholm with a place that depicts something in Stockholm. And then I also added the fun thing that it draws a line from where it is taken to what it depicts. And if you click here, so this one is taken from Katarina Hissen, which is a viewpoint up here. It's very high, and it depicts Riddarfjärden, which is this water. And of course, we have an image from over here, or even 2, from Västerbron, which is the bridge, which also depicts the same. So I thought it was a little fun thing. You can draw some lines to things to depict things. Of course, you can get up into the Stockholm City Hall and take nice images. And here someone took an image on the Central Bridge, which has a weird coordinate. But yeah, I guess that's correct. And then, of course, you can do the opposite around. And I prepared that. So things that are have taken from somewhere that depicts a specific thing. And the specific thing in here is the Stockholm City Hall. So let's run this one. And this, I just show you this to give you some ideas of pretty cool things you can do already and more things that will be available. So here we can see from this high vantage point of Kaknästornet, there's something depicting, well, yes, this is interesting. It's depicting two things. It's depicting both the Great Church and Stockholm City Hall. And then if we zoom in here, you can also see like this image depicts two things, both the water and the City Hall. And just beneath it, you have this one. That's also, so, yep. And I think this is going to be interesting where you can get this sort of stars of things looking into one thing. And possibly even you can do like some, in the end, like use that to make a walkabout or an object. Like you give me 50 things from different angles towards this and give me a virtual tour around it. Or you can say
later on, like add dimensions to that, like seasons or day or night and things like that.
Yeah. Or
it could be really
put me in this place and give me the viewpoint turning around in all directions, like a virtual panorama. So yeah. So yeah, lots of things getting possible. Yeah. I'm getting so lost, so I'm not even looking at my comments. Oh, so we had some for a long time ago. All right, yes. So do you want to show some things as well and some other tools?
Yeah. Let's see here. I am actually going to start by showing off a very useful table that has been worked on for quite a while. It must be 1.5 years by now. It's not necessarily that updated. Some things has changed. I just discovered a couple of things, but it essentially gives you an idea of what you can add to files when it comes to property, like source website, source URL, published in, depicts, and things like that. It has a lot of things. It has a section on things like licensing. So it's a very useful one you can go to. I'm however going to start by using the query service, which is called VCQS. This is gonna get confusing in the long run, but I'm as well gonna start by this depictions of Douglas Adams because it's a very easy way. And something we should note here, like Jan has been doing a lot of edits tonight, but it will actually take a week before them to show up because they currently load in all new data here manually. I think it's updated on Fridays or something like that. So everything I can query for here, things I have added a long time ago. But I'm just gonna show that this actually autocompletes. It's do not autocomplete things from commons yet. I believe it's an issue about that in Fabricator, but it does autocomplete Wikidata things. So I want to search for images of, let's say, Tove Alexandersson, because I happens to have marked a lot about orienteers here. Getting just the URI, the concept URI. Gonna go to one of those. We got one from the Junior World Orienteering Championships in 2010. We can look at the structured data and see that we got exactly this. Depicts Tove Alexandersson. I actually want to edit because this is super simple. We got the competition in the file name here. So we can actually add a new statement. I did the wrong one. And this has been a bit of a question. There are some pages stating that events should be marked as depicts. This depicts the Junior World Orienteering Championships in this case. Their author and what seems to be practice now already is to use significant event. And I can't spell. Let's see my notes instead. That's a lot quicker. And let's see if there is actually the World GWOC 2000. Let's see if there is a...
There is.
So this is the 2010 Junior World Orienteering Championships. I'm gonna publish this. And actually, interesting thing. An interesting thing here is actually that I'm pretty sure that we can actually go to Wikidata. I didn't plan this, but let's see here. I wonder if this has participated in. Let's see here. World Orienteering Championships, Skyrunning World Series, O-ringen, Swedish League. It actually doesn't have this Junior World Orienteering Championships 2010. So from this one could actually now interfere this, like, okay, common states this, but this is missing from Wikidata, which will be very interesting when bot starts working on this. So now we got this as well. So now we could actually query for images of Tove Alexandersson by the different events. Something we couldn't do with Wikidata if the image wasn't known enough to have its own item.
Yep.
So that's one of the great things. But I do want to show off some tools here, which actually used, most of these files are marked with depicts because I used this small tool from Magnus Mansky to do that, but I'm gonna show it off on a different orienteer that I haven't done already. Peter Öberg, I haven't done it on him. I'm sure we can just double check that there aren't depicts on this. Actually, I don't need that because the tool has that built in. Yep. So down in my, let's see here, right low corner, I have something called SDC. And this is Structured Data on Commons Tagger. It's a tool very similar to Catalog, which I also have. However, to install this is not a gadget. So you have to edit something called your common.js file, which is specific for your user. You will find it on. So if we go to my user page, so at your user page, you would
added the slash.
Add your user page, you would go to /common.js. Like this, you would have a specific one. This might not be created in your case. I have a lot of things here that I have written myself, but the important here is the third line. Import script, and then user Magnus Mansky /SDC_tool.js. Adding this small thing, and when visiting a category, there should be this tool, SDC. And it has a similar use to ACDC that Jan showed. But I'm actually gonna click it. So it shows a couple of things. So it already changed the category view here. And it gives us a little more information than ACDC. It states that this has actually no structured data, nor has this, but this has. This states that it depicts Teresa, which is DOS, there, the third person. But it doesn't state that it depicts Peter Öberg, which is DOS. So for all of this, I can select all of them here. As simple as that, I can select what I want to do. One thing to note here is that you can't, as far as I know, type your own. You have to select of this, the most common ones. And then we have Target item is set to Peter Urber by default. I believe it has picked it up because the category is linked to down here. So it says Wikidata and it's easy to go. I actually want to deselect this one because I can see that this orienteer is prominent in 3 of these pictures. So I want to click this and I want to just edit those. And it updates the view here as soon as they are edited.
Very nice.
And then I want to go back to do this one. And I just want to set the target item because it's not prominent. I had already set the target item. Here you can change it to something different than the category if you just click on set target category. But it's selected by default otherwise. And then I don't want to select prominent. He's just one of those people. And I want to add that as well. So it's a easy way of doing it.
Indeed.
Here, I actually also want to add the event because I want to query this another day. Significant event. And let's see how this is named this time. It's definitely not that. Nor is it that. Could it be here? Yes.
Yes. Oh, I think we possibly should clean that up on Wikidata. Or do you think they have different?
There was one name differently there.
Yeah.
So I want to put it there. But actually,
we got a great question here. Does prominent mean you also add it to the P18 of the subject's Wikidata item?
No.
Short answer.
No, it does not. Everything it means is I can actually open Wikidata just to show what it is behind the scenes. Everything it does is, for example, if you would have more than one image here, it would be the same thing as clicking this button. It has a different usage on commands, but behind the scenes, this is what it does. Yeah. So I imagine there is also something that is actually not prominent at all, so to say. There is a normal rank, there is a higher rank, and there is one we don't have a UI for yet.
Yeah. And both these tools that we showed are only making edits on commons.
Yes. Yes. Another thing that's interesting here, I haven't figured this one out yet, but it's actually, it's not only the World Orienteering Championship. So we could, if there would be a qualifier, we could say that it's also the prize ceremony. But what it actually does is also depicting a prize ceremony.
Indeed.
And it's also part of the event. That's why some people add the event to the depict, because it also depicts an event. So one could actually make those duplicate and it would be technically correct. I actually want to see if there is prize ceremony here. It would be some cool queries people could do then when they could see, like, give me statistics. What's the most common first 3 people on the prize ceremony in orienteering throughout the years?
It might be with a Z. Price with a Z.
Yes, that should be it. I guess I misspelled something else.
No, but what can it be then? It's another E there, price ceremony. No, before them.
Right.
There, that should be correct.
Let's
Get
see
no
if
hits.
we get something. No hits. I think this is one that has to be worked on. Is the search there? But I doesn't actually find something for this. That's a missing piece.
Here's a suggestion. Award ceremony.
That might be it. Let's try that as well. I'm gonna start by doing the
Yes.
Wikidata.
Yes. It's award ceremony in English and pris ceremony in Swedish.
Oh. Languages.
Thank you, Vera.
And
why didn't you get a hit? Because that was correct. W there. That no D. There you got it.
event and or television programming based on
What?
presentation of an advert. That's actually very interesting. I wonder if this is the prize ceremony or the flower ceremony. It's some type of advert at least. It's good enough for now. I think there are a lot of cases where we could really do model items for this type of thing.
Yes.
How is a prize ceremony modeled? How is a MP3 file modeled and so on?
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward for that type of examples that we could build on together. Going back to this properties table, there is actually author pages here, which are very relevant. So there is something called modeling, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is talking about modeling, but more the concept. So it has date, source, how would one model that type of things.
Oh, and very nice handy nav box in the bottom there.
Yes, indeed. I haven't seen this before. It actually gives you some of the tools as well. Properties table, media search. So I actually gonna see, there are a couple of ways you can see how used something is. For example, significant event. It has, you can do a very easy search on commons, which is useful. You can do has VB for Wikibase statement P793.
And that one doesn't wait a week because you have your two in top there.
Exactly. This actually using the regular API built into MediaWiki. So it's, you can use it straight ahead. We can see that it seems to be sorting on the latest ones created. Very interesting date here. It has today's
date. That's
last
touched. So this is just now.
Oh, it's last touch. Okay. Makes sense. And
I think with the advanced, you can actually sort by edit date, you see, in the top.
Right. This is interesting here. It's a lot today. Of course there is. So it's an interesting way to check also like the quantity, because we can see how many results. So we can see that this event use has already over 100,000 users, which means it's probably a bit of a standard way to do it by now. I do want to show some more advanced queries. Because there's 10 minutes left, I will copy paste it from my notes and explain those. So one of the best things actually with structured data on Commons is how it integrates with Wikidata. And there are a couple of ways. Jan showed a query earlier. This is a little more extensive query because I had problem with the easy way timed out. So it is actually doing a sub-select query. I don't believe that's the technical term. This is not the nicest way to do this, in my opinion, as someone who works with SparkQL almost every day as a part of my day job. But it seems to be performing a lot better. And it's if I split up the Wikidata part in an own subquery. So I do something select image, person, and thumbnail with, and then I do an auto select targeting Wikidata. And this thing of like doing what's called a federated query, doing a query to an auto service isn't something new for Wikidata even. You can do the same thing from Wikidata to Commons. You would have the Commons URL here and things like that. And there's been almost since the beginning of the query service that you have been able to do this with different third-party services that also have CC0 as their metadata license. But I want to show this one off because what we're actually doing here, we are starting off by picking things from Wikidata. I'm selecting person, which has the sport orienteering and which is also a human. What you might note here is that I select sport before I select human. And this is actually for performance reasons, because there are less items with sport orienteering than there is instance of human. And this makes sure that when it evaluates this part, it actually has fewer items to look at than if I would have started with looking for humans. It's a neat little trick when you're having problems with timeouts.
Is that in general a useful thing to do?
Yeah, it is. It's nice to the query service because it should go a little faster.
All right.
That said, often when you, for example, if you pick cats and common queries like that, it wouldn't affect it because it's especially the Wikidata query service. I don't know about this beta service. Caches all results. So if someone has done the same query a couple of minutes ago or even an hour or two, I'm not sure about the exact time nowadays. It should just pick the result because it remembers it. So it's never actually runs your query. And I only select the person here, or I actually select everything, and then I pass on person. And you will see a lot of the examples here using this as, where, include, which I imagine, while you don't need to do that, I imagine it's for performance reasons because I tried to do this the easy way and it kept timing out. But having done that, having select orienteers from Wikidata, we are walking through each of these orienteers, which I call person here, and looks for, okay, give me images that depicts this person. And we also use this workaround currently to being able to use image grid. So this is the same thing that Jan showed. Exactly the same thing. It's using the schema.org namespace to pick up the content URL, and it cuts it into pieces to append this prefix. So we can run this. Also, the good old way of doing it in Wikidata, default view, image grid, all of that stuff works the same in this service. We can run this. It runs really fast. And we got images that depict orienteers. So we can just scroll down here. We see a press event from World Orienteering Championships 2016. I think we can see that some of these images are duplicates, and that would be simply because there are more than one depicted orienteer in it.
Yes.
But an interesting note already is that we got 300 orienteers depicted in all of these images, and if we just scroll down, we can see a lot of...
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I guess we're not there with modeling yet, but I could imagine someone wants to have pictures of orienteering, not standing on a prize ceremony. Like,
Yeah.
how would we model that? I don't. I
Yeah.
only want the people running.
I have been thinking about that today, actually. So that's a very interesting thing when it comes to this. We say the significant event would be the World Orienteering Championships 2016, for example, for all of these images. But it's not only that, so it's also this is the relay. So the World Orienteering Championships consists of a lot of things. It's qualifying races, it's different disciplines and things like that. This is the relay final. And I've been really been thinking of how we model that.
Yeah.
I have seen sometimes when events have been modeled with depict, it has a qualifier depicts event, depicts part, and then there would be prize ceremony or race or something like that. But when this practice with significant event now is in place, I don't really know. So we would need, I imagine one could model it with applies to part
Yeah,
or
I was
something
just
like
gonna
that.
suggest something like that. That feels like it, because as you said, all of these bigger events have different parts.
Yeah.
So you could have prize ceremony, and for some of these, I guess, like I was watching at the tennis categories the other day, and for Wimbledon, you already have like this sub, like the men's Wimbledon, the women's Wimbledon, already have items for those.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and then there are of course things that we would probably never has an item for. For example, here we have the relay men's press conference,
No, yeah,
which I don't think ever would be an item. It's like a 20-minute thing.
yeah.
And we also got some like, let's see, I saw something here. Like this image here of Judith Wieder, it's like after the race in something that's called the media zone. And that's where like everyone is interviewed before they can go on to sign autographs or some things like that. So there are a lot of pieces to this. And I'm really looking forward to see when we can do like really advanced queries for this type of thing. In particular, a great use case you had where like an orienteer actually doing orienteering. We have a couple of images here already where people aren't really doing orienteering. Of course, there are a lot of athletes that do water sports like ski orienteering here, and things like that. So, yeah. There is a lot to be done.
And I guess we saw that with your search last edit, that there was a lot of edits with things having this structured data property. And I guess
Exactly.
there are more people than you and me who got excited with the query service, and we probably see a great uptick of edits in general for structured data right now.
Yeah, if anyone knows about it, it would be great to see a chart or a diagram over how much more structured data on commons edits there were after the query service were actually released, because we have been waiting on that for a long time.
Yeah. Yes.
And I imagine it's a lot more impactful than this small tagging tool which the foundation released, because people weren't editing structured data on commons enough. So it really shows what type of efforts that matters.
Yeah. And with the tools like ACDC and SDC, I'm just going to check if my edit is done. Yeah, so just during this hour, I made over 300 edits, even while talking. So
yeah,
you can get really productive.
Yeah, and these tools are also really easy for like users to actually use.
Yeah.
We have some tools in Wikidata that are kind of tricky to use. You need to be kind of technical. But here, when it's just about moving this category and all those images,
Yeah.
it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, and they're so easy to use. It even makes sense for small categories, like with just 3 or 4 files. It's quick to open up and boom, fire them away, which means that we can have quite fine-grained data as well, like very specific.
Yeah. We have had a lot of specific like categories, and I imagine we will see, to use the same extent, similar precision when it comes to structured data and commons.
Yeah. All right. So that's a first little teaser for the structured data on commons. I guess we might come back to this later. I don't think we're making any promises for now with that, but when we see some things develop, or if we figure out some fun stuff.
Yeah, I imagine we will interact much more in between Commons and Wikidata now with this in place.
Yes, moving back and forth, and now I have this project and I need to do edits in both other places.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess with that we say goodbye and see you next time.
See you next time, right? Bye.